The Backrooms might honestly be one of A24's most creepiest horror movies. I don't know if it was because the VHS aesthetic, the liminal space, the creatures, or whatever was that ending. I left the theaters with so many questions that we're going to talk about all in today's video. So to start off with my first impressions, I already knew the movie was good because I had already previously watched Obsession, and on Instagram, everybody kept talking about how this was like Obsession, and the Backrooms kept going back and forth when it came to like money, Rotten Tomatoes, and literally like the people I wanted to watch kept pushing it off, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. And I'm telling y'all, watching it in theaters was amazing. Okay, like I already love horror films. I already love like weird eerie stuff. Like if y'all watched Obsession, y'all know how like sometimes a horror movie doesn't need to have jump scares for it to be like creepy, you know what I mean? And I feel like the Backrooms did it when it came to like literally like they still didn't even get to discuss, you know, what is the Backrooms. I originally like, because I remember some people said that they didn't enjoy it and it was bad. But for me, I don't know for y'all, but like for me, the Backrooms was like a video game. Like I remember Corey playing it on like, was it like creepy? It's called Spooky Scary Sunday. I think he either reacted to something or there was like a game he played. So like when it came to the Backrooms for me, like I knew it was gonna be something similar with like the VHS, the yellow environment, the walls. So I guess if you never watched that or the gameplay, that's why it might have been bad. Because I remember a lot of people said it was really bad. And like I was like, how? Like I barely enjoyed it so much. We won't get into like cinematography and all those things, but those are just my first impressions. Like I was almost scared that it wasn't gonna do good because everybody said it was gonna do bad, but I was like, okay, maybe they didn't watch the video game or like core, because I knew it wasn't gonna be like that jump scare, you know what I mean? But it's like it was that more eerie mystery kind of vibe that really brought my attention. I would also say the VHS aesthetic. I think it was almost like Blair Witch. Like when movies do that, I know A24 already like crops the film a bit, but I love it when they do the VHS aesthetic just because I feel like it adds the more of like immersive feel. I think certain movies like maybe Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch have done it, just because it's like, once again, it's like, first of all, this is a film, so you know it's like fiction, it's not real. But two, I also like it when like, of course a movie is fake and not real, but the actors and the director would try to make it as real. And I feel like that was the VHS aesthetic, because it's almost as if like, you know, someone's recording it, you know, from first perspective. And it's the same way as if we were in the actual Backrooms, we're recording it almost like that other person would, or we're able to see it just how that other person was. So I think that was good. I would say the immediate, like when it first came on the movie, it was already that eerie feel, but then I also feel like once he has stepped into the Backrooms, it's like, even it's almost like it's kind of creepy, because you know how certain things, like, you know what they say, like certain things are too good to be true. It was almost like that with the Backrooms. It was like it was almost too quiet, too clean, and too open for it to be too safe, you know what I mean? And so that's for my first impressions. And then second, to go into the atmosphere, also piggybacks off of the first impression. First, my thing would be the silence. I think that, I think another movie that did this really well was like Smile. It's like I said, you know how it's not a lot of stuff going on, it's like visually, yeah, that's what I would say. It's like a lot of things happen visually, but it's the auditory part of like the senses that really makes you like attention to detail pull from things. Because a lot of things that I had noticed was, and I put wide shots on here, I absolutely love the wide shots and the use of like foreground detail and the rule of thirds. Like I really liked it because like I'll use one part when he was like in his office and how it panned the camera to the guy walking around. It's like, it's not the fact that it was just focused on like the guy. It's like you're able to see the folders, you're able to see, like you could tell, like I remember at some point I was like, okay, is he trying to sell stuff out the furniture, like what's going on? But you could tell like he wasn't making sales by, you know, when he was saying like, oh, you know, we got to pay the phone, but you could see all the folders and all that stuff, you know what I mean? It wasn't until they showed the shot of him in the bed I was like, oh, so he's actually living there. So little things like that. I noticed a lot of time that there wasn't like a lot of music, a lot of loud music, but that's what I'm saying. It's like you're really able to like get into, like, I don't know, I feel like the main word you're gonna hear in this whole review is like immersive. I don't know, I feel like the quietness and the vastness of the Backrooms really made you like feel it, you know what I mean? Because I feel like if they're in the background, say there is loud music, it's almost as if like your brain would have been paying more attention to the loud music than the actual quietness and the distance and the vastness of the Backrooms, you know what I mean? But there was eerie music definitely in the beginning when it first came on. Of course, adding to the horror and like the mystery vibe. I also want to say same thing for the vastness in the empty hallways. It's the same thing. It's like it's almost like what is worse, just an empty plane of vastness and mystery, or if it was like an empty plane filled with something like grass or animals. You know what I mean? Because even when she was like running away from like the pirate at some point, it was just that whole street. It's like, it's just that weird, like, I don't know. It's almost like I was putting in my notes, it was almost like the emptiness and vastness. Like, it was almost kind of like Vivarium, which is another movie about liminal spaces, where it's just like, it's just a vast space, but it feels weird because it's like, it feels as if though something is supposed to be there, but there's nothing there. And like, that is the play on the mystery. I will also say, the atmosphere of like isolation, especially from the fact that like he was in therapy in the beginning, so it's like he wasn't his, I think he had kids, so it would have been like no wife and kids, it would have just been focused on him. Same thing as the therapist, like it kept going back to her flashback, so she was kind of alone. So it was almost, like I said, it was almost like people were getting alone, like they already started off isolated, alone, like the therapist and her patient, and then just for them to go into the backrooms and be even more alone. So that's what I was saying about like the creepiness and stuff. Even when they first were recording in the backrooms, and it first came on, I was like calling the radio, we need help, the breathing, you know, when a creature would be about to come, it would get like all dark, the lights flickering, like I said, all this stuff I feel like really immersed into the mystery of like, okay, what's really going on, what really is the backrooms. For third, I would say the cinematography. That's the reason why, like, I always say this and tell my friends, like, I study IT in school, but, like, I really wish, like, in another timeline, I was a film major. In another timeline, I had a film minor, because I absolutely love the cinematography. Like I said, I like it when it's almost not too much going on, but there's a lot going on. If that makes sense. Like I remember every time they would show the pirate like store or whatever, it wasn't just like the pirate's name here. It's like, no, you're able to see the empty parking lot, you're able to see all the signs, you're able to see like the faded signs of the outside showing that, you know, is run down and all that. You're able to see like the sun and the forecast in the background. Like all of those things I think add into, you know, the environment. It's the same thing as like you're watching the camera. You know what I mean? You can see I have lighting so you can see me. You see I have certain posters in the background. My bed, you can tell I'm in my room, you can tell it's bright. You know what I mean? All these things add into my YouTube video, same thing as everything would add into the movie. I would ultimately say, like I said, I love the wide angle shots, because it was even when the therapist was in her office, like I feel like it's kind of crazy. It's like I feel like when people will film and make movies and stuff, you think it's just the actors and maybe makeup or costume, wardrobe that's the most important, but it's like it's everything that makes up the movie. Like I literally remember at some point, you know, when the patient was talking to the therapist, I'm over here looking at the background. I'm like, okay, we got a pattern here, we got brown here, like all of those things, the color palette, all those things add into the movie. And I think that was good. Even it wasn't only like a wide shot, but it would have been like they would have been moving even farther in the wider shot. It would have been like a panning, following the characters. All these things I think add into the immersive ability. Even like I said, the foreground and the background of it, because you got to think like, and this is why I like it when people do movies like this, because, for example, if you just made the movie based off of the Backrooms, it would probably be boring. Okay, the Backrooms is, like I was kind of mentioning, as it's almost like Stranger Things, the Upside Down. You could tell it's frozen in time. Like how he said, it remembers people, it remembers like host memories. Like it's just a vast openness space of anything, and that's what is the scary and the mystery part. So I feel like it has to be the shots, it has to be the simple sounds, it has to be the cinematography, it has to be the music, the eeriness, the quietness to add to it, because at the end of the day, it's just an open room. It's a movie about an open room, but it's a different film and literal elements that add to that open space, to that vastness space, and that is what makes the movie interesting. And I think that's what helps makes the movie more immersive, because literally it's almost like you handed something to the director, a script, you're saying, make a movie about there being an empty space. You know what I mean? We only got one creature, that was the pirate at the end, but for an hour or something, you're telling people, how are you going to grab the audience attention and be, you not only attention to detail, you know, keep their attention attracted the whole entire movie without nobody really dying that much, a lot of blood, or actually seeing the creature. You know what I mean? And so I think all of those things, like I said, the cinematography, the background, following the characters, the panning shots, the wide angle, all of those things add into the personality of the film. I think that's what helps make it immersive and interesting to the audience. And then for number 4, I'll put, so what even are the backrooms? And I would say for me, I feel like it is an infinite maze. I know they didn't really go into it, you know, because they showed the scientists, so the scientists are still like studying it. But I would say that, like I said, I think it's an infinite maze. I would only, if it was like the Upside Down Stranger Things, how it was like a replica of Hawkins, I would then say like, okay, like it would just be like Hawkins. But I think the fact that there's like different levels, like even when she was leaving and she had broke the door of the stairs, it just kept falling. I don't even know, maybe you would have to play it back, but I don't even know if it touched the bottom. You know what I mean? I don't know if there was a crash or anything since the pilot was breaking out the door. You couldn't really listen, but I don't know if there was like it touched the bottom. So I personally think it's a different maze. And I think it's different levels, because I also think it's like, I just think it's not only a vast open in space, but I feel like it's a pause in time, because you see how it had like Christmas, and it had like the neighborhood, it had like the stop signs, like it literally was almost an inverted version of reality and world. And I feel like I said, because there's different levels, like literally there was like a plumbing level, you know, it was like, I remember they had showed the pan, but it would just be like the normal level you walk in, then it's the base, it was like a basement level, then it's like a water level. It almost seemed like where they would do the plumbing at. Like I feel like it's like a replica of reality, or like the world that they live in, but like infinite. I would also say the doors, because I also put in my thing that there was a lot of choices based off of this. Like, it almost felt like you were playing a choice game, like Until Dawn or something, because I realized like it would be the character. That's why I was like, the cinematography did so well, because there would be 2 pathways, and they wouldn't just show like the person coming forth. They would show the camera in a first person perspective moving forward, so it's almost like you're the character. And I remember it would pan to the left and would pan to the right, and then they'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go through this door, and then now I'm thinking, okay, what if they didn't go through this door? Would they have found something else? It was the same thing like when they had fell down that little like stair chute or whatever. Like I remember there was like a way he could have went left, but then like the creature, it came up under that flap. What was behind that flap? He went to the right and to the panel side. You know what I mean? It was the same thing like when he kept running and he was trying to escape like that. I know that Christmas room had a bunch of doors in it. Where were they leading to? You know what I mean? Even when, like I said, she was getting chased by the pirate, there was like, you could tell it was like it was supposed to be a copy of like an office building, but it was the same thing. Like all of those doors, it's like, so where do those doors go? You know what I mean? And it was the same thing. It was like she could have went up, she could have went down, she could have went left, she could have went right. Like there was so many things. And so I want to ask y'all, I mean, what do y'all think the backrooms are? I literally think it's like I said, it's like the Upside Down, but just more infinite in my opinion. If you watch Stranger Things, I think that is what it would be. And so to quickly go over for number 5, it would be the characters. Clark, we're gonna get into you because you was doing way too much. But I would say the therapist. So I definitely feel like Backrooms is getting a part 2 because it left us with so many questions. But what I was thinking was like, and I remember someone put this on TikTok, I think the therapist's mom, I think she might have went or like escaped the backrooms or something, because like I said, I was really relating it to Stranger Things, how like, you know how they were searching for 11 and tried to test 11. I was like, because I kept wondering, I was like, so why does she keep having her child sheltered or something, you know what I mean? And so I think that is what it was. Like she either ran into the backrooms, knows the backrooms, maybe she escaped like the laboratory or something, and so I think that's what it was. I also think the therapist, I actually really liked her character. Like, we're going to go into symbolism. I was about to deep dive something, but that's in the symbolism part. But I would say the same thing. I liked her therapist. I think it was really nice to be able to see like her story, because I kept wondering, I knew in the trailer she found him, but I was like, okay, how did she tie into going into the back rooms? And it was like she was searching for her friend. So I think her storyline or her plot was good. You could definitely tell like they plan to branch out a lot more and explain a lot more stuff. So that's why I was like, we can't really dive too much into her. Clark was off the rockers, okay? Like He killed me. I was like, what is he doing? Like, I really had trust in him in the beginning, but even the same thing, like, I remember, like, where the creature was coming, like, when he first had appeared, I thought that was a creature. I was like, who is sitting there hiding behind that wall? But it was the same thing, like I said before, with the liminal space. Like, the creature was almost coming, like, forward. He came from the side. And so that's why I was like, wait, like, what's down? Well, like, where is the creature coming from? There's a creature there. Does he spawn? Is he resting? Like, he come every certain years, like, what is the creature? And so, yeah, I would definitely say Mark absolutely took me out. I did not think he was gonna, like, backstab and, like, trap her, even when he was like, oh, this was my assistant. So it kept kind of give like he was bringing people down there. I was like, oh my god, that is scary. And then he had tie her up and playing as the wife. Oh, he was frying me. Okay, even at the end when she was like, I can't do this, you're just crazy, you're just insane, I was dying because he was just looking so crazy. And then later, I think, to go into the scientist, it was the same thing. Like, the scientist was killing me when he was like, oh, I'm not gonna explain what's going on and stuff. Like I said, it was almost like the craziness of the therapist, Clark, the other two people that went in there and died, and the scientist. Like I said, I feel like it just continues to add to the full big idea of the question is, what are the backrooms? And I think that question is what is leading everybody into making this film interesting and then to the next. This part will be very short because I think that there is either multiple creatures, because like I said, based off of the movies or the games and stuff, the creatures were like black and stuff. And what I noticed is because like when they got grabbed the first time off of that little rope thingy, it was like it would be like flickering or something. And also, like when the guy in the hazmat suit was running away from it in the beginning, it almost seemed like it was faster. You know what I mean? Like, I know I think, like I said, I put on here, I think the pirate creature is a different creature. I think the pirate creature might have just been like a creature symbolizing Clark or what he was going through somehow, but I don't think it's the same because, like I said, the hazmat suit, like, the pirate wasn't fast. It didn't seem like the thing was running. I feel like when they would show it, it would be like black lights flickering, and I'm like, the pirate was like 8,000 feet. Wimby. He giving Wimby. You can see him. But that's what I was saying about like the heavy footsteps, and I think also not being able to see them is what made it even creepier, because it's like you're traversing this plane, it's a mystery, it's quiet, you start hearing footsteps, stuff breaking, you like, what is that? And I think it's, like I said, it's almost like creepier of seeing an empty room and nothing is there, so it seems too safe, than to be hearing something in that open room and now you're curious to what it is. And like I said, I think it was the same thing about the creature. Like, would have been even more scary to see the creature in its full form, whatever it is, or to hear a little essence of the creatures, like sounds or footsteps, like I said, it attacking stuff. Even when they got to the red level, and they had that man in that chair and that woman, I was like, what? I mean, they explain later that they are like memories of people stuck in time, but I also wondered if it's like, are they dead stuck in time, or is it just like, you know how it's like it replicates the reality in like objects, houses, is that essentially it's replicating its own way of people? Like I said, is it like those people died in there, or is it like, you know, they escaped but their essence or energy is still stuck there? You know what I mean? So that's why I was wondering about the creatures. But both the pirate man was taking me out. It was the same thing with like it and the grandma. Like, I always hate it when it's that eeriness of like you see him walking but the main character ain't in no haste. I'm like, girl, you gotta go. Like when she first was tripping up that gas and stuff, and she was picking up the stuff, that's on the cinematography, because it's like she's here and she seems super tiny, but it's like the pirate is getting closer and closer, and as he's getting closer, it's like you're able to depict and make out, okay, how big he is, how tall he is. And that's why I'm like she's here and we're like, okay, she's this small, but then the pirate, you know, he looks that small because he's across the map, but then as he gets closer and closer, you're like, oh man, this man is big. That's why I'm like, the angles and stuff, it mattered. Yeah, that's all I want to say about the creatures. And for one of my favorite parts, I would say symbolism and themes. And I actually like the idea of how they use therapy in this, because I feel like a big question, and I feel like a big thing that really speaks about people in society, is that like it comes from a fine line of like people can only change if they want to change. Because I really liked how it was the idea about Clark on how it was like, okay, you're trying to help this person through his problem, his wife, his drinking problems. You build up that sympathy, and then you get to the final end where she was like, I can, because I've even noticed that about therapy in my own life. It's like, it was more like how she kept having her book about like you have to go through the window, open up. Like I also found that very interesting because it was the idea of like she's talking about opening up, going through the wall, going through the window, going through the space just for them to go into the wall, and now they're in this vast space. And so it's like, wait, your book and your commercial says to go into the vast space, like, but actually in the back rooms you're not supposed to go into the vast space. And so I thought that was very good foreshadowing. But I'd say that was a very good play on way about talking in therapy and stuff, because that's what I realized. I feel like most therapists or psychologists are meant to be are help to open up whatever is like inside you, but at the end of the day, it's like it's still your choice to accept what is inside you or choose to do better. And so I found that so funny because he was like, well, I don't want to change. And I'm like, I literally think that is a problem with a lot of people. They just want to sit in their issues. They want to sit in their feelings. Like how he was like, be my wife and all this. It's like, instead of him actually stop being crazy, stop drinking, stop yelling like she's telling her, it's like he still wants to have that essence of control and just be like, no, you're still my wife. You're going to do exactly what I say. And he still repeated it. It was like, so what was all them sessions of therapy for if you just going back and do the same thing? You know what I mean? I would say, like I said, it was funny to see how I feel like both the therapist and the patient both played into the idea of isolation. I was going to touch about that earlier because it was funny for the same thing. Like she always had that trauma and that anxiety from like her, I think it was her mom, and her mom was what kept her isolated. And it's like, it's funny because she's helping other people not feel isolated just for her own self to get isolated due to the back rooms. Same thing for him. I think it was funny because he was like, he already lost everything, with his wife, drinking, his kids, to just go into the back rooms and to lose everything. And it was the same thing about how you could tell he was like it was almost like he wasn't interested or he didn't have everything, but the back rooms was like such a mystery to him. It's like that is what kept him busy. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird of like how a creepy active space checking and navigating almost became his hobby or something he liked. You know what I mean? When it comes to the themes of like liminal spaces, I also had talked about this earlier, but it's crazy how it seemed like a lot of the time when there would be like a big wide shot or a big open room or liminal space, it's like your brain would almost picture for something to be there because it's so creepy and it looks weird with nothing being there. But that's the whole point of the back rooms. You know what I mean? Because there'll be so many times he would go into a certain room and I'm like, okay, maybe I could have saw that here. And I'm like, I'm only doing that because the room looks creepy as I don't know what. And so I'm trying to like make it less creepy. Same thing when it came to the idea of being like trapped and stuff. Like I felt so bad for the therapist because it's like she only went in there to save her friend, which he tricked her just for her to be like re-isolated again. And then especially talking to like the doctors and stuff, it's like they're literally like almost not giving her a choice because they're like, you're one of the main survivors and stuff, so now you gotta still be here. So, and like I said, I just think it was a very funny foreshadowing an element of the whole thing because like I said, a constant throughout the film, she people are like reading her book, they're reading her commercial, you hear her commercial, and the whole entire time is talking about going like that's why I'm like, I feel like people weren't getting the movie and they said they didn't like it because like literally they used her commercial and her book as a foreshadowing throughout the whole entire movie. And through that foreshadowing, it talks about going into the unknown, taking a look through the glass, going through the window. And so it's like the book and the commercial is literally telling people to go into the unknown, and then they get into the unknown and they don't know what the hell to do. It's almost like they regret going into the unknown. It's almost like her commercial was literally telling you to go into the back rooms, although the back rooms is like creepy, eerie, and dangerous. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why I was like, I feel like people just weren't getting that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like literally like her commercial, and I think it says like go beyond the window, and so I'm like, it's literally funny because like they're going beyond the wall. Like I don't know. I'm like, are people not getting it? Like maybe it was just me. And like I said, I really love the theme of like the VHS tapes and all that stuff, because it just made it seem like it was like so much more creepier. Well, not creepier, but like it was like older than what it was. But I'm like, oh no, this is recent, because you know he was able to find it himself. And yeah, like I don't know, I really enjoyed the movie. I feel like it was little things like that that people didn't get. Like it's like her book, her being a therapist, her commercial, all this stuff is basically literally pushing you to go beyond that boundary, to go beyond the unknown. And then they get into the unknown and now they're stuck, and then now they regret it. And so to go into the ending, I would say for me, it definitely showed that there will be a part 2. Like I said, I think the Backrooms is almost like how Stranger Things is. And what I had thought was, I had originally thought that that was one exit, but just like they said in the movie, it's different exits. And so I think the laboratory people were studying, because at first I was like, okay, who's watching the cameras? Like I thought it was going to be they're replacing people into the back rooms, but I think the back rooms, like I said, it's just that infinite void, and then it just opens. Now I don't know how the exits work, but I think that's what it is, because I think the laboratory people found an exit on their side. They were exploring it, and they're like, okay, we gotta put cameras in to see where other people come from, and then that's where Clark and her ad came from. So I think that's what it is. I would say the scientist just proves that, like, just as much as the audience barely knows about the backrooms, the characters themselves barely know about the backrooms. So I think that also literally the element of it still continuously be a mystery, and you're not leaving the theater knowing exactly what it is. Also adds into the fact of like why people maybe anticipate it for like a second movie, just to, you know, understand it. I would also say Clark dying, and even the pirate being an imitation of Clark, I think it's just so weird, because like how they said it keeps memories, and so it almost is like, you know, he died physically, but his memories of him being there are still there. Like even someone told me, I read on TikTok, they were like, you realize his the lady in the red was supposed to be his wife, and as soon as the pirate appeared, he ran away, in a sense of showing like how he was so angry and he was driving people away, and I didn't even peep that. And so that's why it was little things like that. I would say the copies really got me, because I still don't know, because part of me was thinking like in the car when I was leaving, I'm like, so did that mean that the therapist Mary, I was like, wait, is she envisioning all this stuff like it's fake? Or is she just stuck like in the back rooms? You know what I mean? Like imagine if the whole entire movie was fake and we were just seeing like her memories, because she was already stuck in the back rooms. But I don't know. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't know. Is it like people go in there and then they get stuck and that's how their body is replicated? Or is their body just replicated because the back rooms itself is its own entity? Like, I was thinking like, what if she actually did escape to the scientist, but the back rooms just recognized her like essence or soul being there, and so it tried to remake a copy? Or is her body just completely stuck and we just saw a replay throughout her whole entire like lifetime, you know? So that's what I was saying was very interesting, because like I said, the table and the whole room looked the same, and so I'm like, is that actually her? Like almost like I said, like paused and frozen in time, and we're just seeing like her memories prior to the backrooms, or is she literally in a whole separate place alive and the backrooms just copied her? Like, that's what I'm saying. All these questions I had, and I don't know, I just don't see how people literally thought it was bad. I don't see how they said that. And for the end, I would definitely say the rating was 9 out of 10. I feel like it was almost like Obsession, where it was like, I know more people died in Obsession, but even in Obsession, it was like I said, the literary elements, the graininess, the film, the format of the film, how they recorded stuff. Like, I feel like all of that stuff almost is more important than people just dying, because you know it's a horror movie, you know what I mean? It's showing the trailer, there's blood somewhere, someone's dying. So it's like, you've got to really put your effort in all tens and all the other spots that might be lacking in the movie, than it just being like the backrooms and the space. Because even in the backrooms, I don't even think, like, I think they might have explored outside of the backrooms more than in the backrooms, like that. Like, but I know if you were to just start off with the backrooms, it would have been boring, because it's like, okay, we're trying to see in the space. Whereas now you're building the characters up, you're building a plot a little bit, and then you just throw them into the space, and now it's like a second act of the movie of them exploring that space, and then the ending. So, but y'all let me know how y'all rate it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. And also, like I said, y'all let me know what other movie reviews. Let me know how the ending was interpreted to y'all. Do y'all think she's just frozen in time and we just saw her memories, or she already escaped and that's just like a fragment of reality for her? Y'all let me know down in the comments how y'all enjoyed the movie as well. I literally saw it a couple of hours ago, and I was like, let me not be lazy and just do the review. I'm already dressed, let me just go and give it. So, but I love A24 movies. Please in the comments, recommend any more A24 movies. I watch Bones and All, Obsession. I think it was Talk to Me, The Backrooms. I love A24's like horror moviness, but also like the top tier cinematography. So yeah, I think we got 675 subscribers. So continue to let me know in the comments what videos y'all want to see. I have been more active. I have been a lot more active on my gaming channel, so I'm gonna put that link in the description and somewhere on the screen. Make sure y'all go subscribe. I've been posting like I think I have like almost like 10 to 13 videos in the first month, and we slowly steady building up. That's really where I'm gonna be at for a while because I gotta save money so I can't vlog. But hopefully y'all enjoy the videos that are posting. I know the views are a little low, but y'all just help a boy out. By the time we get back to school for my last semester, we're gonna be pumping them out, okay? So don't worry. So but yeah, let me know how you enjoy Backrooms. Please let me know in the comments any horror, psychological thriller, mystery A24 movies y'all want me to review, and I'll watch and I review them. So yeah, like I said, continue to like, comment, subscribe. Road to 700 subs, really road to 1K, and I cannot wait to see y'all in the next video.